The Pope speaks out about the vulnerable. I'm Rogers. The Pope speaks out about the vulnerable. I'm Rogers.
Live from the Center Right Radio Studios in Tempe, Arizona, the Chips and Salsa Show. Conservative conversation, picoso, not mocoso, with Don Jorge Ortiz and Alicia Lara. George, former California Democrat union man turned legislative GOP chairman.
And Alice, former New Mexico Democrat turned legislative GOP district state committee woman.
Together, they are your Chips and Salsa Show hosts.
Get your guac on now with George Ortiz and Alice Lara.
And we are going to get our guac on now. It's Saturday. Today is September 8th. My goodness gracious, we've already passed the Labor Day weekend. Oh, by the way, I'm Alice Lara, and noticeably absent in the chair next to me is my partner in radio crime. That's Don Jorge Ortiz. He had to work today. He's one of the hardest working guys out there in Arizona, but he will return next week. But not to fear, because you know what I did? I thought, you know what? I'm going to invite my good friend Johnny Milton to come in and help co-host. Welcome, Johnny Milton.
Thank you. I was the only person she could find. That's why I'm here.
Don't tell them that. Don't tell them. Johnny is no stranger to politics in Arizona. Tell the audience. Give them your little 1-minute bio.
All right, so I've been a grassroots activist for a long time. Today I'm a precinct committeeman, like many of those who are watching. First vice chair of LD 21. And last January, the PCs of Maricopa County elected me to serve as a member at large on the Maricopa County Republicans Executive Board. So, as well as I'm also a state committeeman. So, yeah, so I'm involved in a lot of different things, but local politics has always been a passion of mine, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. So.
And that's wonderful. I first met Johnny. I think I met you at the state meeting that we had in January. Yeah, and notice he had great hair because I was taking pictures. How's my hair?
Yep.
And he does. Yes, great hair.
That hair bought me about 50 votes, I think.
Is that right? Nice. Well, whatever works, right?
Exactly.
Works. So it's going to be a really good show. We're going to have a lot of fun. In addition to our Cocotazos and our whole enchilada awards, which if you're new to this program, you can follow us on Facebook. That's Chips and Salsa Show, Chips, letter N, Salsa Show. And through the week, we post, like, if you do something really dumb out there in politics or there's a goofy, crazy story, Maxine Waters is often a candidate for that. We post those. Then come the show on Saturday, we vote on them. You're going to help me vote on them and select the best one. Yeah, it's going to be great. But we also do good stuff. So our whole enchilada is like somebody did something really, really great. Like if Sarah Sanders Huckabee told someone off really cool. We have all kinds of good awards for that also. We also have the Prather Point. And later on in the show, we have a really good guest we got to talk to for a little bit, Johnny, before the show, right? And he goes by I Am Waiting. His real name is John Nastiff, and he wrote In Thy Mother's Honor, and it's about his experience as a Vietnam veteran. Really great guy, lives in Eloy, Arizona, so he's kind of a local Arizona boy, and we're going to have a good time. We hope that you tune in. If this is the first time that you've tuned in to the Chips and Salsa Show, we're here every week, Saturday at 4 p.m., and George and I are trying to spread the message and break the myth that, guess what? I am an American Latino of Mexican heritage, is what I happen to be, and guess what? I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. We do exist. It's really true, My husband and I were talking about we need to create an organization. What do you think about this, Johnny? ARM. And it would be American Republican Minorities. And then we could be armed because there's a lot of us that we're conservative. So Johnny and I are going to talk some politics. Let's see. Before we start, I also want to give credit to our incredible intern, Armin Zio. Doing a great job behind the scenes there. And we have an announcement. We need like a drum roll or something because we have surpassed our 2,000 likes on our Facebook page. Yay, finally, yeah. Yeah. So, okay, all of you guys that are thinking, I'm going to get off there, no, please stay. Please. In fact, we need more. We want to get to, 10,000 likes. Whatever. We just, it's a dream. It's our dream, and we can make it happen.
Dream big. I like it.
That's right. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about, we have a lot of headlines too. I mean, you know what I wanted to ask you?
Please.
Did you happen to see the hearings, the Kavanaugh hearings are happening this week, and there have been disruptions. So this one gentleman, a lady was there screaming and shouting, da, 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 and he says, "Excuse me, I can't hear you. Then he went into auctioneer voice. Did you see that?
Yes, this is the legislator of Missouri, I believe, I mean,
That was funny.
Politics today is. I wish we were more civil today. I wish the discourse was better, but this is where we are today. And it was one of those moments where here we have again this we have a session. This House is in session, a public session, and there's someone who doesn't want to play by the rules. They're going off the rails, and they're met by his response by breaking out his auctioneer role was amazing. It was a bright moment in this otherwise dark discourse we have. So I liked it. It was great.
It was great. I just think, man, I wish I could do that voice.
This guy's my hero.
Yeah. It was very, very cool. We also, Kaepernick was in the news too. Nike has decided to make him the poster boy, and their stock is plummeting. I understand, which is a good thing.
Depends. I mean, we'll wait to see. The market's going to decide on this. This by doing this, Nike has got $43 million in free advertising because of this.
True.
So I mean, I guess just to speak as a marketing technique, it was. Well, we don't know if it'll be successful, but for now, it's given them. I mean, everybody's talking about is dominating social media. I guess. I mean, so how controversial it is, that's up to the individual viewer. But clearly, Nike got some free $43 million in free advertising. Will that help in the end? I don't know. So.
I was watching. I think it was Tucker Carlson, and they were interviewing a gentleman who said, people that they're burning their Nikes, and he said, if you notice, these are people that haven't bought a pair of Nikes in 20 years. He says they don't really care about that client, and so maybe it is a brilliant marketing move, and maybe they want to own the the urban market. It's kind of, I don't want to say racist,
right? Yeah. I mean, I can't pretend to know what the marketing strategy is of Nike, but again, I guess the market will decide whether this was a good move or not. So.
Right, and we're a capitalistic society, so that's fine. I don't have any interest in supporting them, but I don't buy $1,000 shoes either, so maybe they don't care about me at all. Okay, so I want to talk because you are the guy to talk about this.
Okay.
Some local politics.
Sure.
If you're watching us on Facebook or on Center Right Radio, which we hope that you are. And if you've missed any part of the show, go back later to centerright.live and you can watch the show. But you notice we have a sign here, a political sign, Debbie Lesko, and she is running for Congress. And Johnny wanted to talk, and I think it's a really good topic. Yeah. We have to stay united here in the Republican Party. We all have our candidates in the primary, but only one person can win.
So I guess speaking as someone who's those of us in the West Valley, the political advocates in the West Valley, we've been in campaign season since Christmas of last year, right?
True.
And, this special election that we went through, I think, brought me a better appreciation for the importance of party unity. It was so CD8 is, if those of you who live in who know the layout of Arizona, Congressional District 8 is basically the big chunk of the West Valley. It's reliably red. Right? Trent Franks represented it for over 7 terms. The last 2 times he was elected, I don't think he had a Democrat challenger. No, he did not have a Democrat challenger.
He did.
In 2016 or 2014.
He was a solid. Yeah.
Right, so this is a pretty red district. The mentality in CD8 is that once the primary is over, that's kind of it. It's presumed that he'll go on to win. And so that and everybody in CD8 knew that. That's probably explains why we had over a dozen declared candidates, right? And the race got contentious. there were some hurt feelings. At the end of the day, Debbie Lesko, then State Senator Lesko, carried the day. By pretty wide margin, I think 12 points. But nonetheless, you had a lot of hurt feelings. There was a lot of mud. There was some mudslinging in that race because everybody wanted to win that primary. Once you win, because that's the mentality. You win the primary, you win the general election. But anyway, at the end of the day, she did go on to win the special general election a few months later, but by a 5-point margin. Right? So she beat her Democrat challenger by 5 points in a district which Donald Trump carried by 20 points. So I think from the lesson from that for me was, I think, the importance of party unity, because in CD8 when we had a transition to the general, there was a lot of people who said, okay, Debbie won, and whether I was supporting Phil Lovis or Steve Montenegro, they came back, right? But as you can see, maybe not everybody came back. That's a couple dynamics played out is why we had a kind of a narrow margin. So, but from that, I took that the importance of everybody getting back into the fold, and that's kind of what I want to continue to learn that lesson and bring it to where we are now. We just had a primary race, and
I'm going to have to cut in here
Okay.
because we've got to go to our first break.
All right.
But we're just getting warmed up. We have a lot more to talk about. And so stay tuned for more of the Chips and Salsa Show here on Center Right Radio. I'm Alice Sadata with fill-in host Johnny Melton. Do not go away because we got more to get our guac on with.
more numbers.
Stay with us here on Center Right Radio, right here for you.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14,
41, 31, 13.
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the Search Engine and Digital Marketing Race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired Warhorse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
And we are back with the Chips and Salsa Show. And I apologize to Armin because he told me to go, but I was still hearing the commercial in my head, and I'm so trained. I have such a radio trained brain that I'm like, I can't talk. I'm hearing something else in my earphones. But thank you, Armin. Thank you for taking care of us. I'm Alice Lara here with the Chips and Salsa Show, and I have a guest host in for Don Jorge. He'll be back next week, by the way. But Johnny Melton is helping me out today. And we're talking about, more specifically, Arizona. But even if you're watching us from another state, I think this is valuable information because I know that we are not the only state that has these different issues. Like, for example, I was asking him because I thought overall it's about a 35% turnout for our primary last week, but you had some interesting information about that.
Right. So that number is actually, that includes everyone. So the actual, if you look at the partisan participation, and I have a lot of echo in my headset, so
yeah, I do too.
There. So if we're just looking at partisan participation, Republican turnout was actually pretty good. It was 50%. Right.
That's pretty good.
Right. That's
for a primary.
That's the county. I'm just talking about the county.
Okay.
Okay. So county Republican turnout, and it's probably going to be true, throughout the state of Arizona, but 50%. If you think about historically what that means, so if you go back, as you go back in time, so in the August, so the 2014 primary, about 46%. 2016 primary, we're at 48%. During the special primary back in February, it dips down to 41%. And then here today, we had 50% turnout in Maricopa County, Republicans. So the trend is good, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take
Sure.
You can understand the dip in the special primaries. So, but here we are. So it tells me that Republicans aren't lying down. We're not letting our guard down. But the same can be true. The same can be said about the Democrats because their turnout was also pretty impressive. In this last primary, Democrat turnout in Maricopa County was about 45%. Okay. Now, if you look at their history, typically, so if you go back in time to 2014, they were at 30% turnout. And then in 16, they were at 33% turnout. And then this past special primary back in February, they were at 35%. And then last week they actually came up to 45%. So that tells me that Democrats are. You might have heard this. They believe there's a blue wave, and they are trying. They're working on it. Absolutely. They're clearly. Whether it's the opposition to President Trump or more locally, education is now big, and since Republicans are now dominating the education policy making, they're trying to. That's a big problem for them. So. Whatever it is that it's working, they are pushing their numbers out. And that differential that we have, right? So if you go back in 2014, 2016, when the turnout, Republicans enjoyed this 15, 16% participation differential in the primary, that translates to that projects that in the general election we're going to make some gains. And we did in 2014 and did pretty good in 2016. But that's narrowing, right? So Democrats are catching up in terms of participation. So that should kind of, not trying to worry anybody. This is not a time to be panicking, but it's also an indication that, it's a good thing that we Republicans are turning it out.
It is good. And I know that statewide, I believe we're like 1.8 million Republicans, and it's about even with the independents. And the Democrats are just behind us, like 1.7. And I think that's pretty reflective of the entire nation. But what can we do out there? Like, for example, today, I want to give a shout out to Moses Sanchez. Moses Sanchez is just a wonderful Republican candidate for the city of Phoenix mayor. And we got a nice walk. We had a lot of people showed up at my house. Right. We walked the neighborhoods. People were very receptive. We went and talked mostly to independent and Republican households. So those were going to be more friendly to us. But what other things are we doing and could we be doing? We don't want to give any secrets away to the Democrats. But, we got to work. We got a lot of work ahead of us, Johnny.
So it depends on what. So every activist has their role, right? So the walking, the weekly walks, obviously, is an important part. So the party does different things depending on what level it is. So the state party, for example, they have their field operators. So every week they're helping us, right? So the state party has field directors and their own people. At each LD, whatever area they've designated, working alongside with the individual LDs. And so the LDs go out, we go out and recruit people to walk. So today I was the same thing. I was walking out in the West Valley for my local candidates and as well as my the
and
opposition
that's
to,
commitment because it was like 100 degrees out there. It's hot. Although we had a breeze this morning.
Yeah, I was in my car. I just drove and made my recruit walk. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
you know how to do it, man.
Exactly. I delegate. Yeah, to the kids.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it must have been terrible for him to be in that heat. So, but he's a trooper. All right, so yeah, so it's just a matter of going out recruiting people to do these walks. It matters. It really does. Putting whether you're hitting doors. We also at the same time have volunteers who make phone calls, right? Who phone bank for those who can't be outside. So
are the phone banks still very effective because everybody has cell phones now, and like if I can't recognize who's calling me, I usually don't answer that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So right now, if you're asking me which is more effective, door knocking is more effective. Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't mean there's no value to phone banking because there's still, if you think about, there are still people with landlines, right? And
I have a landline, I admit
okay,
it. Yeah.
So there's one. All right, that's good. So there's people still have landlines, and I've done phone banking, and you can do a lot, right? With technology today, you can make 100 calls in about a little over an hour. It's that good. It's that efficient. But for 100 calls, how many people are you actually contacting? So it's I guess what I do is that's why I do the walks because for me it's more efficient. I can hit I can hit 40 doors in an hour, and that's and people when they go and maybe they don't always talk to you. Sometimes they do. Interactions are the best way, right? But those voters out there, they get literature. That's important. I mean, to a lot of voters, that's important. It signals that the party knows they're there, right? And so that matters.
And it's a good opportunity too, Johnny, especially when you do your own neighborhood. It's a recruiting tool.
It is, yeah.
Because I have found when I've done that in the past, you come across somebody, they're like, well, you know what? I've been trying to think about getting interested in the political scene. You might find your new precinct committeeman out there who's just kind of waiting for someone to come around and ask them and let them know about the information. So what we also did is we had flyers which had our LD information to come. Right. Because where we live, we're very outnumbered by the Democrats.
And what LD is that?
LD 27, South Mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so pitiful. We didn't even have a candidate against our own congressman. Right. So consequently, Congressman Ruben Gallego, he's going to get in there. He has no opposition. So he doesn't even have a race. He's got bunches of money. He can do whatever he wants.
And he can do it. He can even act a fool on media. So good for him.
Yeah. Yes, he can. That's true. So give us, let's see, we have a few more minutes left. Give us some pointers out there. You said you brought some statistics,
So yeah, if I could just kind of come back to the, so I tried to, with those numbers, I was trying to paint a picture that the Democrats they're motivated just as much as we are, right? And so if to maybe dig into a little more numbers, right? I just told you about the special election in CD8 that gave us the great Congresswoman Debbie Lesko. Okay, now had we not come out and helped her, had we not come unified, we would be out. That would be one less vote for healthcare reform. That's one less vote for military readiness. That's one less vote for education reform, right? So these elections, I obviously don't want to be, yes, all these elections matter, right? And the local ones matter even more. So look at the superintendent of public instruction race. Right now is being separated as of last night by 249 votes. Okay.
It's 249.
As of
wow,
last
I
night.
thought it was 300, so that's gone down, hasn't it?
The state senate race in LD12, that's about 740 votes. The CD1 primary, the Congressional District 1, that was only decided by 4,600 votes. Okay, those margins. I want you to imagine if you're a candidate, if you're the SPI candidate or the LD12 Senate candidate, or if you're Wendy Rogers in CD1. Imagine you've won, you've eked out this primary win. Those candidates are counting on us to come back and help them, right? Whether you were supporting whoever you're supporting in that primary, those candidates, they fought hard and they are expecting us to come and help them out. And so I guess I just that I'm an elected member of the party, so I have a duty to say this and do this.
Certainly.
But I would hope that the conservative voters out there find it within themselves, to also honor their duty, protect to help the conservative movement and help these conservative candidates get elected. So
you are so right, because for example, my candidate was not Martha McSally.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I always told people, whoever the candidate is, we cannot let the other side win, because I do not want to see Congresswoman Sinema in that seat.
Mm-hmm.
So George and I, we had a McSally. We had her shirt right here.
I saw that.
Because, we're going to do that. We need Republicans to save our nation, to make America great again, to keep it great, and we'll do what we have to do. And you can talk to people. It's so interesting. You can make a difference. Even just people know that you follow politics. I know this happens to you, and people call you, Alice, who's running and why? And and I will say, here's why I'm voting for that person, and here's information. We're already up against another break, and what we're gonna do when we come back, Johnny, we'll bring in our guest.
John?
I
Good.
am waiting.
Good,
That's
good.
John Asta, and he wrote In Thy Mother's Honor. So don't go away. We talked a lot of politics. I'm gonna switch a little bit, but you know what? It's gonna be a good interview. So I'm Alice Latta with Johnny Melton. I'm so glad you're here today. And we'll be right back with more of the Chips and Salsa Show here on Center Right Radio, right here for you.
Hi all, Jeff Prather here, ex-government insider, now living outside the box, speaking truth to power on the Chips and Salsa Show with this week's Prather Point. So, if you follow the news, it is a topsy-turvy Alice in Wonderland unreality show with the propaganda press. You may have heard all of the excitement about the New York Times anonymous letter describing that the Trump administration is a disaster and that there's loyal Americans inside it trying to prevent Donald Trump from doing things like destroying ISIS, reducing unemployment to the lowest level of all times, especially reducing black unemployment to the lowest level of all times, negotiating deals with Mexico, putting North Korea aggressions on hold, things like that, and that they are taking credit for that. You may have also heard that DOJ official Bruce Orr was saying that through Christopher Steele, the now humiliated author of the so-called dossier, was meeting with Russians who had Trump over a barrel. So let me translate what this really means. What this means is the Dems are now so desperate because everything they have done has failed. Fast and Furious failed. Benghazi failed. Syria failed. The Clinton-rigged campaign failed. The IRS scandal failed. The NSA scandal failed. Trump was elected. The sex scandal against Trump failed. The Russia investigation fails more every week. So that now the New York Times is publishing anonymous kindergarten-style reports that mean nothing and are certainly not written by anyone who is a senior White House official. That could, of course, mean hundreds of people. But, actually the New York Times has a policy of not printing anonymous sources. They're violating their own policy. Why? Because they have to, because they are in deep trouble. Remember, too, by the way, 1938, the New York Times declared Hitler no longer to be feared. So that's how long their reputation has been good. And like Donald Trump said, without me, the New York Times would have gone under already. I totally agree. On the other front, Bruce Orr telling Congress investigators that he had Trump over a barrel. What that really means is that the DOJ and Bruce Orr were colluding with the Russians. So whatever the left is accusing you of, I learned this the hard way, they are actually doing. Remember Comey saying that there's no deep state? Well, this New York Times memo says we're the deep state. So this is actually very good news. The Dems are extremely desperate. They are disintegrating. It was like Cory Booker's performance trying to trip up Judge Kavanaugh. That fell apart ridiculously as well. The Dems are disintegrating more and more every week. And that is good news for restoring our republic. For more Jeff Prather, go to jeffreyprather.com, warriorschool.com, pratherdirect.com. This is Jeff Prather on the Chips and Salsa Show with this week's Prather Point.
So
We are back with the Chips and Salsa Show. And Johnny, I want you to say something to the audience real quick while I close this door, okay?
Okay, sure. I'll be.
Remind them who you
I'll
are.
just talk slowly. I'm Johnny. I'm filling in for George. You're welcome. So.
And he's doing a really great job. I really appreciate it. You'll have to come back, and you could actually be more like a guest.
I would love that.
We were talking a lot of politics, Arizona politics and stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit more. But right now, we have the pleasure, the honor of having in studio I Am Waiting, or also known as John Nastiff, excuse me. And he wrote In Thy Mother's Honor. You contacted me, I think, through either Facebook or email, or was it
LinkedIn? I contacted you through LinkedIn.
All over the place, that's right. And I'm just going to read this little paragraph. No one can fully understand the terror, the unbelievable pain that is experienced in war, unless they have been right there in the middle of the action. Vietnam vet I Am Waiting recalls his own personal memories, nightmares, and anguish continuing today after years of service in Thy Mother's Honor. He grew up in Chicago. He was in 3 active tours in Vietnam as a Marine. And first of all, I want to say that you're going to be our official military moment. We like to do that in our show every once in a while. And my dad was a World War II vet, and my brothers all served. And my dad always told me, he says, you've been there, you don't want to talk about it. It's very difficult to talk about. So we really appreciate you being able to come on and to be on our show, and that you wrote this book. So I have to start out, welcome.
And thank you for allowing me to be here.
And of course we have to ask you your inspiration for writing this book.
My inspiration actually was I've still going through a lot of seeing psychiatrists, and then I also had to see trauma specialist. And the trauma specialist, after pulling the information out about my combat time and the different incursions, firefights and everything, as he found out the different things across 3-4 years, he felt it should be put down in writing. First of all, for my wife and children to know, as well as many people out there, because he felt I had incurred, being who he was talking to vets constantly. He felt I had a story of extreme, let's say, spread of occurrences. It wasn't just one focused thing. And my family never knew. My wife, children knew I had scars on my body, but they never asked their whole life. So they actually just found out about it when I wrote this book a few months before.
Is that right?
So the inspiration was to, in his mind, it might help ease my mind if I would put it in writing and ease up on the PTSD. I'll give about a 2%, that's about it. But it's better than nothing. And I tried to talk about it. I'm trying to get on some radio shows, and they felt that if I can talk about some of these occurrences more, it would be easier to do and maybe have less trauma at night. I'm up 2-3 times a week at night. My wife has spent many nights, so she'll tell you, in the closet hiding. She was afraid because of my yelling and screaming and my actions while I was asleep.
John, how long from the time you were separated from service to now is this been your condition these many years, or is this?
I've had PTSD. Well, I didn't officially been told I had PTSD until I started going to the VA in 2005. I went to the VA when I first got out of the service as requested, and they basically told me, go get a job.
That was in
1968.
You really weren't offered any psychiatric?
Nothing. They basically told you, grow your hair out, get a job, and don't tell anybody you were there. And so as I went, you get married, and as your time waiting to get married, and my first married years and with family, I was a very, very strict father. Never beat my wife, nothing, but my kids were raised, everything had to be perfect, and I was on them for it. And they've turned out well, but it was a tough life for them, I won't deny that.
Well, Vietnam, and the unfortunate thing about Vietnam, John, we were talking about he's such a whippersnapper because he was born after Vietnam ended. And I was a little girl, but it was really tough on you guys. You came back, and these protesters, and I think we need to come up with a better name because they're meaner. It's worse than a protester when someone who has served their country comes home and they actually get spit on and so disrespected. So even to deal with that, was a little bit of trauma, but you're talking about your actual war scars occurring in Vietnam.
Correct, yes. I didn't, when I come back, I'd never let any of that bother me. I will, you know, the Vietnam vets and most vets, they're either going to go through if they were in combat. A lot of them go into drinking, some go into drugs, and some have the rage problem. A lot of fights. I was fortunate. I wasn't into drugs, drinking, but I had the rage problem. A lot of road rage, a lot of physical fights my whole life. Even at my age, I'm 72, I think I can still, you know, get out there and stand up to anybody. And I know I'd get my, ass kicked, but...
So what I was going to say, so you're basically still a badass.
I'm still a Marine. We are. Each branch of service has its own belief. I have respect and honor for every branch. Our belief is that, and I hold to it.
George, so what is? So you are engaging with the VA. It sounds like.
I go to the VA. I've been going steady. I started my treatments in about 2005 when I started having. Again, I went there for my first treatment because I was having back problems.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at that time it was all related to my old injuries from Vietnam. I was injured multiple times. And so things were falling apart. As time goes, 40-some years go by, as they've explained to me, your bones just disintegrate. They turn into powder after they've had impact, great impact, and trauma to them. So they just don't get old and cracked. They disintegrate. So I was having problems. I went in for that, and after the first couple days, they made me go see a psych immediately. And from the temporary psych I was seeing my first 3-4 years, they had me going every week to see psychiatrists, psychologists, and then they put me with a trauma specialist. And I was seeing, his name is Rob Smith, it's spelled out in my book, for 5-6 years before they'd release me. But I'm still seeing I have to see a psychiatrist constant. That's part of our deal.
I mean, and to see you you look very well adjusted, normal guy. Nobody could really tell. Probably sit down and have dinner with you, have a drink with you, and think, this guy's doing okay. There's not a problem. But obviously, there's other things and issues going on. So, tell us, when you write this book, what is it that you hope that others, when they read, the real message that they'll get from this?
Well, there's a message in there. It goes into all about the title of the book, why I named the book I titled, and how that came about. But again, I was injured multiple times, and my message is multifold. I am due some medals, Purple Hearts, and I am due a promotion I was given. And in the back of the book, you're going to see photos, military documents and everything. Backing everything up, I'll spell out in this book. But I'm trying to get the message out because the VA has basically told me, we don't want to hear from you anymore. I've had 5 appeals, and they basically told me that unless I can come up with the right person or an attorney to walk in with, they don't want to hear from me anymore. I still have shrapnel on my body, and you're going to see in the back of the book photos of scars. You're going to see letters from the VA stating that all these injuries are from Vietnam, from chief of neurology and all that. The back pages are loaded with information. You're going to see I was promoted, and it'll tell you right in the book of November 30th, 1967. It goes on to say promotion of sergeant effective December 1967. I didn't know I was promoted in all that trauma and all that. So I'm trying to go back and get my stripes, and anything that relates to my records change to show it doesn't affect my life today.
But I earned it. Politically, have you gone to any of our senators and asked for help, or Congress?
I went to a congresswoman and a senator, yes. And in my mind, I felt I got zero help.
So, can I ask, when you went to the VA and you stated that you had combat-related injuries. That's what you're saying, right? You have combat-related injuries, and
correct.
Their response has been what now? Has been.
Their response is, first of all, you have to prove it up. Nothing is a given. When you go to get all your treatment, you fill out paper after paper after paper. It took me 2.5 years to get into the system.
Okay.
And so then I had to get all kind of papers to go back, and to try to recover a Purple Heart. There's forms to fill out. There's requirements you got to fill. I fulfilled every requirement there, except for one, a letter from my officer, commanding officer. I don't know how much time we have, but I was in charge of a reactionary squad, 44 Marines. We were protecting an artillery outfit. My second week in Vietnam, the lieutenant was killed in combat. I was the next highest ranking of the 44 as a corporal with so much time and grade. I became in charge of those Marines. And we filtered through my 3 tours. They came in and out, whether they left because of time served, injury, or death. But I was never replaced. They never got another officer. They kept saying, we're going to get an officer. So I ran that reactionary squad for my 2 9-month tours and a 6-month tour. Never had any breaks to go home. I was there continuous. So I couldn't supply a letter because it was me. I was an NCO non-commissioned officer.
How do you do that
so
for your own person?
You never replaced an officer for me to go to. But so I've got letters from other Marines, which you'll see in the copy of the book, verifying what happened. So I fulfilled all that. I got letters from the hospitals. They got pictures and x-rays showing the shrapnel still in my body. Yeah. What more can I do?
Okay, I have a dumb question, but I have to ask it. I mean, I'm just looking through this book, and I do want to read it, and it doesn't look like, it won't take, if you buy this book, it's not going to take you 3 years to read it. It's a nice read with a lot of information. It just seems to me, with everything that you went through, why don't they just honor it? Why don't they just do it? Why do you think they're so adamant about not?
Well, again, their stories and excuses to me on the Purple Hearts are their latest refusal and last refusal, because they said if I don't come back with an attorney or someone, I'm guessing it's political, somebody connected, that they don't want to hear from me anymore. And their last excuse was that when I was injured and turned treatment down by the corpsman, and this is all explained in the book in detail, that when I turned down treatment, I basically told the government I wasn't injured. So I don't deserve a Purple Heart. And I says, well, I got all the records from you from St. Louis. You sent me all the records. I got to subpoena the records. You give them to me. And then with those same records that you've been holding, I fulfill all your paperwork. It states in there, I talked to you on the phone. You're reading what happened to me in my records about these injuries. And now you're going to tell me that I wasn't injured? So because I refused treatment and I treated myself, taped myself, sewed myself, took my own morphine pills, other Marines helped me get through the trauma on that. I mean, that's the story on that. And on the sergeant's promotion, which you'll see in the back of the book, they says, you were never really promoted. Well, it says as clear as day on their letter, effective this date, promotion to sergeant. I didn't know about it until I got police records looking for, to go after, actually to get my ratings in the VA and to get start searching back for the Purple Hearts.
John, you alluded to this a little bit earlier. What inspired the title of the book, In Thy Mother's Honor? Can you talk to that?
Yes. Speak to that? When I was in the Marines 8 months prior to going to Vietnam, my father had died. My mother got notice by phone that he had died and that they were picking her up where he worked and taking her to the hospital where he was taken. She was 8 months pregnant, collapsed, fell on her belly. It crushed the baby's head, killed the baby. So 2 months later, I came home and told her I was leaving for Vietnam. She says, you can't go. It doesn't work that way. So, but anyway.
So that was.
I told her then that she would never hear that the Viet Cong hurt me or killed me. So
In Thy Mother's Honor, and that's perfect because we're going to break, and we'll be right back with I Am Waiting, John Nasta, who wrote In Thy Mother's Honor, and more of the Chips and Salsa Show here with Alice Latta and Johnny Milton filling in. Don't go away.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that Mommy and Daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
41, 31, 13. We
took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
Realized he forgot his homework.
I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the search engine and digital marketing race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired Warhorse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
And we are back with the Chips and Salsa Show. It's going really fast, but that's a good sign because when the show goes fast, that means it's a good show. It's interesting. Hopefully we've captured your interest. I'm Alice Lara. We're here every Saturday at 4 p.m. Normally, Don Jorge is here with me, George, but he had to work this week, so in his place, I asked Johnny Melton to fill in, and he's done a great job. We hope that you come back and be a guest or a fill-in, whatever you'd like to do. We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks,
You bet. We do have one more segment left, and we're talking to I Am Waiting, or John Nastev, and he wrote a book, In Thy Mother's Honor, and it's very touching, and we kind of cut him off because we had to go to break, but he was explaining to us about why this title was important, and I'll let you kind of finish that up.
Again, I'm sorry. In Thy Mother's Honor, I made the promise to my mother that she would never hear I was injured or hurt. As I was injured multiple times in Vietnam, I refused the treatment from the corpsman or the doctors. I patched myself up with their watching because if they touched me, they had to send a letter home, and then someone would have showed up at my mother's door, and I felt it would kill her. So I honored my promise.
So that was In Thy Mother's Honor. I think, I see a great movie here. I think it would make just a really awesome movie, and to expose what our government has been not doing for you. I also hope that it inspires. I'm sure your story is not alone. There's just guys and gals out there like, give up. I'm not going to fight. I've already went and fought there. I'm not going to fight my own government. So I hope it inspires their stories to come through, and maybe you'll be the person to inspire them to write more books.
John, I don't know how far in your appeals process you've gotten, or what is an administrative process with the VA like? What is? I mean, is that something you've been able?
Or is that too much trauma for you to relate?
It's hard because there's nothing done simple. It's
right.
When you fill out the forms, nothing seems to be less than 3 to 10 pages.
Mm-hmm.
You fill it out, you give all your backup, you send it in, you wait anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and you'll get a notice received. And then under review 2 months later, and then a year later you get something back, and they'll give you some kind of an answer, just like me when I was going for my ratings to get treatment, which then tells you how much care if you have to pay or not pay. But anyway, in this case, going for my old medal and my old Purple Hearts, but they just bring the trauma back to you, because to give some of the answers they give make no sense at all. I mean, when, again, in my case, I've proven everything they wanted to know. I've filled out every document they know. I've given all the backup. You've got other Marines writing, verifying what happened. You've got the hospitals verifying what happened. Their own paperwork shows what happened, and then they deny you. And the denials, I don't know if they're just because they've not taken the time or just don't care. And I found out, unfortunately, a lot of the people who do the review for the veterans have never been a vet. And maybe that's part of their care. They don't understand.
That's a really good point, because they certainly, they have no understanding. They don't care. They're just paper pushers or computer pushers, online and everything.
Well, it was
sad.
actually on TV, and a little over a year and a half ago, they found out that some of the centers that were reviewing documents, they were paid not to process documents. They were getting bonuses, and I guess that's hopefully come to an end.
Wow. So what's your hope going forward? What's your next step? I mean, you've written this book. You're getting out there in the media world.
Well, I'm hoping enough people would read this book, because it's not just a story about combat. It's a story about a life, trauma, family. And I believe it'll touch your heart and soul. But I've got a message out to hopefully help me as a vet and many other vets. Again, hopefully they're in similar situations or side by side, but I'm hoping the right person can listen, or having read the book, either are the right person or know the right person, who can get word somehow out to the VA or out to Washington to say, let's put this stuff to an end for all the veterans and or this veteran.
It seems like I would have, maybe Trump will get a select committee and devote it strictly to this in cases like yours. So we need to tell the people how they can get your book.
The book can be bought direct from the publisher, which is Dorrance Publishing, at 800-788-7654.
Do you spell Dorrance? What's the publishing?
DORRANCE, Dorrance Publishing, or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And all of them, if they're not into a paperback, it can be downloaded. I'm not a computer person, but I guess you can.
Oh, you can
put
download
it
the
on
book?
It can be downloaded, yes.
On iBook?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Well, I think I'm certainly going to read this book, and I think I'm so glad that you came in, because this needs to be brought to people's attention. And this is just like another one. You know that there's awful stories there, and you've heard them, but this is an incredible one. You've given them everything. It's like they ask you for stuff, they have it on file. You've provided for. You've done the work for these people, and you still can't get satisfaction. We need to play the Rolling Stones now. You still can't get any satisfaction. I mean, come on. All right. Well, John, since we have a few minutes left, would you like to do the cocotazos with us? Do you know what that is?
No, I do not.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what that is. And
I'm excited. I want to know what this is.
This is something that we need to get. You would do this to the VA, but when you're a little kid, maybe your mom used to, if you did something stupid, she'd knock you on the noggin, right? Or she'd do like that. In the Mexican culture, you throw a chancla, you throw your shoe. I never did that. My dad just showed us the belt, and we said, okay, Dad, I'll do whatever you want.
My wife does this to me. I know what this is.
Yeah, you know what that is. Okay, so what we do is through the week, we nominate cocotazos, and then we award one on our show on Saturday, like all kinds of dumb things that people have done. So I'm going to run through the list here real quick. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes, Armin?
Yeah.
We're good? Okay. And Armin, if you want to weigh in here too, that's good. So there was a socialist that tells little kids to fight against Trump. Okay, that's one. There's a report. PETA makes a bizarre request to honor lobsters killed in a truck crash. Did you see that one? Oh, poor lobsters. Number 3.
That's a whole enchilada.
That's a whole enchilada.
I respect them.
Oh, Farmine. Number 3. Man driving pickup truck rams into the Fox TV studios in Dallas. Oh, my goodness. Big Dem/left payout to disrupt protest Senate hearings. You've seen those Senate hearings. Yeah. 70 adults, this is number 5. 70 adults were arrested for throwing childish hissy fits at the Kavanaugh confirmation hearing. Number 6. Hillary Clinton launches a Twitter storm with a new reason to, I just went black, with a new reason to stop Kavanaugh. She's back. She's got to be back. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank God.
And number 7, we already know about this. Cory Booker. I already announced that I will vote against Judge Kavanaugh. Anyway, there's plenty, and like I say, I think I want to give the VA the cocotazo just from you being here. But if there's any of these that you'd like to vote on, Johnny?
I gotta tell you, Cory Booker, I think might take the lead on this. I think he might even beat out PETA, if that's possible.
Okay, so
just because not only was his theater, his theater was weird, but it wasn't even technically right. It wasn't even good theater, right?
Yeah, it was confusing.
Yeah, I don't think he actually I don't know if he actually knows the story to Spartacus.
Oh yeah, I am Spartacus.
So anyway, that's my vote.
So you vote for Corey. How
Sure.
about you, John? What do you think?
I'm going to go for the Corey also
All
because
right.
no way could he compare to a Spartacus.
There you go.
That was a man of honor. He is not
Yeah.
a man of honor.
What a great movie, Kirk Douglas. Armin, do you want to weigh in here?
I think the guy that drove the truck, not him, but the people in the media who were saying Trump's actions were going to lead to like violence against reporters.
Oh,
but
yeah,
the guy
that's a good
attacked
one.
the Fox station, and he said the media needs to do their job. So
Mhm.
it's kind of funny because the exact opposite of what.
So that's your vote. Well, you know what? There's a lot of good ones, but yeah, Cory was good, and he was in the news everywhere. So I think the winner will be Cory Booker. He's our Cocotazo of the week. Thank you very
Nice.
much. Okay, so now
Congratulations, Senator Cory Booker.
Congratulations, Cory
He's
Booker.
not Spartacus.
That's the last thing he's probably going to win. So.
All right, so I'm going to go through the whole enchiladas real
We're
quick.
at
These are
2020.
the good things.
Okay.
Okay. Mother hen turns her wings into an umbrella to shelter her babies from the heavy rain. We got so many views on that one. It was
I
so
missed that one.
adorable. You got to
Aw.
go to our
All right.
Facebook site. Number 2, Republican Senator Ben Sasse gives incredible and much needed civic lesson during the SCOTUS confirmation hearing. That was number 2. Number 3, Republican drowns out protester in a unique way during the House hearing. Hey, the auctioneer thing we just talked about. That was awesome. Number 4, Melania Trump slams the author of the anonymous New York Times op-ed. She did. She slammed pretty good. Number 5, widow of police deputy killed on duty writes fierce letter to Nike. And I almost was going to read that today if we had time. Go back. If you haven't read that, you need to read that letter. Number 6, country over company. College will strip athletes of Nike branding over Kaepernick. That was pretty cool. That was very brave of that guy. Okay, John, shall we go to you first? You want to pick one? This is for good. Which one do you think is for good, the best one?
Oh, I'm going to go with the college one.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I like that one. Okay, so one for that. How about you, Johnny? What do you
I
think?
have to give this to Ben Sass, Senator Ben Sass.
did a
And
nice
let me tell
job.
you why.
That was great.
The reason I think that's such an important. I think everybody should watch that video because he really lays out exactly what is wrong with this process, right? And I don't know. It's kind of one of those moments where you have to get back to basics, and Ben Sass does it in such a way. It's an eloquent and meaningful way. I think you know what? When I get home, I'm making my kids watch it. All right, so there you go.
Good
Sorry, kids.
Good Republican lesson. Armin, you want to weigh in at all?
A good civics lesson.
Yeah, it was.
No matter whether you're Republican or not.
Right.
Yeah, he was right.
Ben Sass,
Yeah,
you
he
vote
was
for
right.
that? Now, I still want to. Okay, so that's 2. So that's going to be the winner. But you know what? I want to vote for the auctioneer because it was
Oh, yeah, that was-
priceless.
Yes.
That was just so awesome. But yeah, that was good. That was good. And then a lot
Not
of
all heroes
bravery
wear capes.
for the university guy. That was good, because he didn't have to do that, but he
Nope.
did. So that's great. All right, so that's the winner. Ben Sass is the winner. I want to thank all you chipsters for your support out there. Thank you, Johnny Melton, for coming in and helping me co-host.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Great
This was a
job.
blast. I had fun.
Wonderful.
Even though I didn't get I actually didn't get any chips and salsa. I'm a little.
Oh, you're supposed to bring them. No. We forgot to tell you. No.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Armin.
Ah.
Sorry.
Thank you, Armin, for always doing a great show for us.
Outta
We
here.
appreciate it. John Astive, I Am Waiting. Please buy his book, In Thy Mother's Honor. Great job. Thank you very much for your service. God bless you. And I'm Alice Lara. Next week, we'll be back with George Ortiz. And guess who's coming in? The Deplorable Latinas, Monica Yellin. And I think Terry Mendoza is going to be here, too. Anyway, come back if you want.
I
Join
got
us,
to.
Johnny.
Monica was my running mate when I ran for member at large. So
Oh,
that's my girl.
awesome. Great. So
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're so
Greatly
welcome.
appreciated.
Wonderful. So we'll be back again next Saturday here at 4 p.m. And thank you, Julian Allison, for taking care of us today as well. Here on the Chips and Salsa Show, I'm Alice Lara. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and remember to guac on.